Hi everyone! Today I'll show you how you can knit this beautiful and simple sock pattern with slipped stitches. It's really quite easy because you're basically just working knit stitches and slipping stitches purlwise. So it's suitable for beginners too. What I especially like here is that the yarn's color gradient shows up really well. What you'll need for the socks and exactly how they work, I'll show you in a moment. You need a yarn. I took the sock yarn from Starkwalla here. For size 38-39, I need pretty much exactly 100 grams for both socks and a matching set of double-pointed needles in my size 2.75. You begin your work by casting on 16 stitches per needle. Leave enough yarn. I'm starting here again exactly at the color change, because that way I can make my socks identical. So start right here, I'll do the same on the other one, and then I'll have 2 identical socks in the end. I always use 2 needles when I cast on my stitches, just so the stitches are a bit looser. So, once you've cast on the required number of stitches, your work should then look something like this. I'll pull a needle out now. Be careful that none of your stitches slip off, and we'll start the cuff. If you want to knit a different size or a different width, you just need to know that the slip stitch pattern has to be divisible by 4. That means you always have to knit with a stitch count that's divisible by 4. As I said, we start with the cuff by dividing our stitches across the 4 needles with ribbing. That means we always alternate knitting 1 knit stitch and purl 1 stitch, then take after 16 stitches your next needle and just keep knitting as if you were still on the first needle. Especially for beginners who haven't yet used double-pointed needles that often have knitted, really just act like you're continuing to knit normally. That's also not that hard at all. So, a little tip. If you're not sure whether to work a knit stitch or a purl stitch next, you can tell pretty easily here. Purl stitches always have this little bump, and the knit stitches go straight through. You can tell it pretty well from that. When you've split your stitches across the 4 needles, the whole thing looks like this. Then I'd recommend that you knit the first 2 stitches of the first needle with the 4th needle, still in the 1x1 rib pattern. That means 1 knit stitch and 1 purl stitch, and you've already connected your double-pointed needles. Now knit the 1x1 rib, round and round, until you reach the cuff height you want. I'm making exactly 3 color changes. Then I can also easily check that the second sock looks exactly the same as the first. That's about 3.5 centimeters for me. Until then, I wish you lots of fun knitting. So, my cuff is done now. I've knitted 3 colors about 3.5 centimeters. Now we'll begin with our slipped stitch pattern. To do that, you knit a knit stitch and slip the next stitch purlwise with the yarn filled behind the needle. So put the yarn to the back of the needle, insert into the stitch as if to purl, and just slip it off. After that, you knit 3 knit stitches. 1, 2, 3, and slip the 4th stitch purlwise again. That means put the yarn behind the needle, insert from front to back, and just lift it off the needle. Very gently, and then 3 knit stitches again. Now you do that along the whole row. Knit 3 stitches, slip the yarn to the left. Then 3 knit stitches again. The vertical repeat is worked over 4 rounds. But these 4 rounds are actually really easy to remember, because we're now doing exactly the same for 3 rounds. That means knit 3 stitches, slip 1 stitch purlwise, knit 3 stitches. That was basically your pattern. Really very easy and also suitable for beginners. And I think the result is really nice. Slip purlwise and so on. Do this now for 3 rounds, then I'll quickly show you the 4th round. Until then, have fun. So, after the 3 rounds, your work should look like this. You've basically been slipping the same stitch purlwise every time, so that this stitch now goes over 3 stitches. The 4th round gets even easier because you're knitting every stitch. Then, this slipped stitch pattern also turns really nicely into a single stitch. I'll show you in a moment. As you can see here, have you then pulled the stitch from the color pattern up here, the 3 rows? Right, that was actually already Like I said, always for 3 rounds, knit 3 stitches, slip 1 stitch purlwise, knit 3 stitches, alternating. We're starting with a knit stitch, although it actually doesn't matter. Always make sure you slip the same stitch, then you'll have this nice pattern here. In the 4th round, you always knit every stitch and so on. I'll show you the finished piece. Now, keep doing this until your cuff is as high as you want it. In my case, this time I've knitted 13 centimeters here, measured from the cuff to the leg. I think this pattern is really nice. It's important that you basically finish your work with a 4th round, because then it's just nice to transition into the heel. I'll show you exactly how the heel works in my next video. Until then, I hope you continue to enjoy knitting.